What's up, everybody? Welcome to Omnic Lab. This is episode 121, Strategic Thinking. Yeah, let's just get into it. My name's Rob. I gotta mix it up every once in a while. Keep you guys on your toes in the intros. They can't always be the same. But we're the show about Overwatch, talking strategy, generally speaking. So strategic thinking is right up our alley, and we learn like trial and error. So some of these things may be not always true, but this week it happens to be something that Andres and I have been thinking a lot about, and we'll get right into that. My name's Rob, patched in from Yamaguchi Prefecture, Japan, and joining me, as always, is the Georgia Peach himself, Andres Gomez.
Ooh, hello.
Ooh.
How's it going? Yeah, I'm excited about the show. We're thinking back to the roots. Back in the day when we started at Make Lab, we used to do a lot of these kind of shows where Rob and me just spitball some strategy. And today we're going to be talking about Overwatch strategic thinking. We want to talk about a little bit about how we think about the game when we're picking a hero, when we're thinking about switching, when we're thinking about what's countering, how we should we move ahead with the game, all these kinds of things. Sometimes it's a very personal choice. It's based on your strengths as a player. But yeah, we're going to be talking about all that stuff today.
So yeah, we're gonna talk through like just not just making decisions and thinking through what you're doing, but more of just like, what do you do in reaction to what you're seeing? What do you do with regards to adjusting your playstyle? With what skill tier you're in, with what hero you just want to choose based off what your team is choosing, what hero you want to choose based off of what you're seeing the enemy team do, and even just what map are we playing again? So let's jump into it. So generally speaking, we have to get through a couple little bits of announcements here. So let's do that real quick. We have our game night concluded last week, and we didn't really get to talk about it because it happened like right after. But Andres, what do you remember game night this time around? A good turnout in your lobby. I know that we did the podcaster stream thing for World of Podcasts. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I wasn't able to be at the game night for too long this time since I had to wake up super early the next day. But I was there basically for the podcaster slaughterhouse. We made it up a
Getting
team of
slaughtered.
yeah, we made up a team of podcasters to promote Con Before the Storm. If you guys haven't heard about that, is the convention that happens right before BlizzCon with podcasters and content creators that Rob and I are going to be a part of this year. But we're trying to promote it, so we're just playing with all the podcasters going to be in the panel. And as always, we had every GM and High Master player in the Discord just immediately group up to play against us. It was fun, though. I enjoy playing against them, to be honest. I know that not everyone is in agreement. Some of you don't like getting their asses kicked, but hey, at least you learn a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. The Calm Before the Storm is also really cool because Andres and I will be there participating with this. This happens every year at BlizzCon through their Kickstarter. And Calm Before Storm is kind of just like a big meet and greet, a big art showcase, and you can meet creators. People kind of just show up on Thursday at BlizzCon in the area, but it's not actually in BlizzCon. It's like before the event in the Hilton convention or the Hilton Hotel. It ran out a bunch of stuff, and then there's another feature of it called World of Podcasts that Andres and I will be on the Overwatch panel. I'll be the moderator, and Andres will be representing both Omnic Lab and I'll Recap. And there'll be other hosts there. I believe Blevins will be representing the High Noon Productions. I know that Mel will be there for Cavalry, and Bob for Mash Those Buttons, arm of, gosh, I can never remember, over something. I cannot remember this other show.
Sorry, which one are you talking about?
Watchpoint Radio. There we go. And then Totemly Drunk will be there for his entire network of shows. Heroes Never Die is the first one that he put together, but he's doing like Overwatch Recall and other stuff. Actually, I'll be on Overwatch Recall tomorrow, doing something, or later today for you guys. And they're just gonna do the panel. I'm gonna put all the details in the show notes because we don't have much time to like really blitz through and describe this whole event to you. But it's really cool. There's a link in the description. And there's a whole bunch of podcasts for Blizzard games, not just Overwatch, but we'll be there for the Overwatch 1. Furthermore, we have Top Score Solutions coming back yet again. We got Ben, I Need Peeling, helping us out with offering business consultations in esports. You guys can be helped out if you're looking to be a coach, help a team, develop an app, a service, boost subscriber base, stuff like that. Just go check him out at topscoresolutions.com, Topscore Esports, or check out his Discord and Twitter. Further, we have the Humble Bundle link. Andres, take it away before I really botch up my words at this one.
Yeah, the Humble Bundle monthly affiliate is still going on. If you guys want to support the show and get Overwatch for really cheap, and by cheap I mean $12, so probably the cheapest you'll ever get it. Feel free to get that second account, third, fourth, fifth, whichever you're on, so you finally can make that Torb One Trick account. Here's your chance. If you go to humblebundle.com/monthly !partner equals Omnic Lab, or we'll be linking the link in all of our show notes and the Discord and Twitter. You can find it there. You can go through that, support the show, and get Overwatch for really cheap. So, and not only Overwatch, if you don't know what a Humble Bundle is, it's a subscription service that basically gives you a package of games every month. The games are random, but you only pay $12. So basically, you get to try out a lot of games. A lot of the games are titles that have come out in the past, but are still really fun to play. So you get a chance to catch up on games that maybe you didn't buy when they first came out, but you might still want to play. So it's a cool little subscription service, and it helps us out too. So check that out.
Absolutely. And last up, we have our transition with our official partner. We have Omnic Meta coming out with a brand new Specialization of Heroes article from season 12, and this is posted on September 28th. So let's start with this, because this transitions us perfectly into our discussion today of choosing heroes and all of those little shish kebabs there. So as we have this pulled up, I want to get you guys in the kind of the frame of mind here. Is what do we mean by one trick, and what do we mean by hero specialization? I can't even speak today. My word.
We should probably let them know what the article is about. Basically, Switch from Omnic Meta has written this really cool article where he's talking about hero specialization in season 12. He's talking about what people are playing and how there's this trend where people seem to be specializing in very particular heroes rather than, playing a wide variety of them. And like Rob was saying, he defines what a one trick and what a specialization is. You want to go through that?
Yeah, so he says the biggest decision that Overwatch competitive ladder players have to make is what hero to play. Knowing the metagame, which heroes fit well, and is a big determining factor when it comes to deciding which hero to play. In this article, we analyze the popularity of hero specialization. A player has a main hero when that hero plays more than 50% of all games with that hero. And a one trick is a one trick pony, short for one trick pony, when playing more than 80% of games with that hero. Using this data for the hero collection, usage collection of season 12 for PC, I break down the most popular hero mains for each tier. Switch. So if you guys are looking for more analysis with this, this is the first meta report with regards to hero mains that include the hero Hammond or Wrecking Ball. So keep that in mind, that the people who play all games in this competitive season will have a pretty split representation with Hammond, because he came out kind of midway through the season instead of like throughout the whole thing. So next season you'll have Hammond as being the whole season 13. Hammond gives access these players. So the first thing on the charts here is that damage and support heroes are spread across a number of heroes, with Ana being very popular, and the goats and the dive tanks and the quad tanks, amongst other things, are within the comps in this particular meta. And continue to main or one trick heroes, there's still a lot of diversity, is what he's basically getting at. So looking at the data, if you're trying to find a lot of people that are playing as a one trick, playing with no hero mains, and people playing with a main character, this chart is how would you say this, Andres? Like, I'd say it's pretty evenly split between people with a main and people with no main, and then there's a very small number of one tricks in that.
Yeah, he makes a couple interesting observations over here. Even though across all tiers, the distribution doesn't change it drastically, but you can at least see certain patterns over here. Like, for example, in bronze, silver, and gold, as you go up the ranks, people tend to play more one-trick heroes. I'm sorry, they didn't play more mains, so they just specialize in certain heroes. As you go up into platinum and diamond, it seems like people start doing a variety more of heroes, specializing less on mains. But as you go back to grandmaster, everyone starts specializing again, which makes sense based on the hero pool, right? Like around platinum and diamond, you might find the most amount of people just trying out a bunch of different heroes, different out a bunch of different things. But as you go up in the ranks, people tend to specialize a little more and stick with maybe one or two heroes that they know really well, rather than like playing a long time. One tricks though, they seem to be getting less and less the more that you go into GM. You get a lot of one tricks around bronze.
About 10%.
Yeah, much less around GM, meaning that it seems like overall is detrimental to your rank to just play one hero in particular.
As Andres is getting attacked by his cat here. Basically, there's basically the split is the most one tricks in any given tier is in bronze at 15 this last season. And it's really interesting too, because the way that you kind of anticipate reading this is not whether people are like hard pressed as being a no hero main, but rather players that play like the majority of their games on three heroes. Let's say Andres is like, I'm gonna play this account and it's gonna be Doomfist, Sombra, and Pharah. I don't know. So those are the three heroes that Andres says that he's gonna play this season. So if you look at those three, as long as not one of those heroes is hitting the 50% total played hours on that account, then he's gonna basically show up as not being a hero main, but he's quote unquote maining three heroes, if that makes sense.
Right. He makes a hard cutoff there. If you're playing three heroes and each hero takes up about 33% of your playtime, you're just at that point playing a variety of heroes. If you're playing one of those heroes 50% of the time and you're playing the other two heroes 25% of the time, then you're considered to be maining one of those heroes.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind, because this is not like a super hard pressed number, and this also doesn't mean that hero mains are people who are like, oh, I'm gonna play 10 minutes of Hanzo and 10 minutes of Widow, and then I'm gonna go play Reinhardt for 10 minutes. It's like that's not how this looks.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a fair comparison, right?
Sure.
If you're playing the same hero over half of your games, you are specializing in the hero for the most part. While maybe your other heroes might be, a little more general knowledge. I think that the biggest observation that he makes, though, is that hero maining is increasing with seasons. And I think that when you just look at the data for this one season, there's not much you can tell there. But
right.
when you look at the data for season 4 through season 12 that he puts out over here, you can see that hero mains have gone from maybe a 15 to 20% of the population to almost like a 40%, meaning that a lot more people have specialized in those one heroes and are playing them over 50% of the time. So a lot of accounts have this one hero that they play almost every game, and then maybe a few other heroes that they play. One tricks have increased a little bit too, and the amount of people just playing in general, whatever comes their way, whenever they need to, has decreased over time, meaning that people have decided that it's a better investment of their time to concentrate on one or two heroes.
Sure. let's go to the next step, which, because you're probably wondering, like, well, if they're maining something, what are they maining? So in this article, he puts a top 10 hero mains on PC with all skill tiers, from bronze to GM, and I'm gonna particularly note the majority of the community is in gold and platinum rank, so we're gonna kind of use those as like our main two checks on that. And then, like, if there's anything like outliers in this list, the main outliers I've noticed is that in platinum and diamond, top 10 is where McCree is, but that's it. Like, McCree's not in a top 10 most played hero. But if you look at these top 10 lists, there are 2 tanks and 2 supports, or sorry, 3 supports, and in every single one of them. And the tanks are Reinhardt and Diva, and the supports are, I believe it looks like every skill tier has at least 4 of the 5 supports in it. So that just means there's a lot of support maining going on in Overwatch right now.
Yeah, that is true. To be fair, though, supports are fairly important. And once you decide to go support, I feel like a lot of people stick with that since it's such a different play style from the rest of the other ones. Like, if you play support, you're playing completely different than you are DPS or tank. Let's go through some of the lists. Like at Grandmaster, Anna is the number 1 hero that people are maining the most this season. Reinhardt being the second, Lucio third, Diva fourth, Zarya fifth, Winston sixth. So a lot of main tanks over here. Zenyatta 7, Jonak. We also have Genji, Tracer, and Brigitte at number 10. So, I mean, that not only gives us a picture of like what's the most popular at GM, but also what people tend to specialize the most. You know, we got a lot of Zarya players, we got a lot of Ana players right now, which is very, very good. I'm surprising that Hanzo has kind of fallen off of the list. And he fell down very naturally, right? Like no nerfs happened, nothing in particular. He just kind of slowly waned off.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see, and I think that a lot of this has to do with the changes to Ana. Frankly, like, Ana has been coming back, and so if Ana's back, then that also means that Genji's a lot more used, because Genji's just an excellent target of nano boost. That also means Reinhardt's coming back into play. You've got the Brigittas that don't need to worry about a shield break. They just stun the shield, and then you get the purple on them with Ana, and then you just delete them. I know that Diva has been getting really popular because of this. People are playing Winston because they need a dive. There's just such a big diversity, and the strangest thing to me is that, you know, Zarya is still in every skill tier. Gold and above is in the top 10. And she continues to be stronger. And we thought that initially that it was kind of like a little bit of a nerf to her, you know, her graviton, but like her ability to hold high charge just makes her like this insane damage character as a tank, and also a good protector unit.
One character that really sticks out to me is Reinhardt, because it seems to me that players who play Reinhardt are like diehard fans of Reinhardt, because at every
Top
tier,
2.
Reinhardt is either the most mained hero or the second most mained in every single tier. Bronze,
And
silver,
platinum
gold,
above,
platinum.
Ana is first or second.
Man, Reinhardt players are dedicated. They're like, no, we have chosen the path of the night and we're not deviating. We're going to play Reinhardt for life.
It's so funny because every time Reinhardt has showed up on this top 10 chart, it's really high. And then if you look at gold and above, Ana's in top 5 or above, because like they're just perfect match made in heaven, because you're just farming your ult off of Reinhardt's.
Yeah. Poor Mercy seems to be highly popular in bronze, silver, and gold, being number 4, number 3, and number 3, respectively. But she sharply drops off in platinum, diamond, master, and eventually disappearing in grandmaster, which is huge, right? It seems that nobody's maining Mercy at grandmaster anymore, and everyone who used to be main Mercy is now on the Ana train, it seems.
Well, let's be sure, because Mercy being in top 10 is still fairly popular, and the fact that she didn't disappear entirely from platinum and above play, or even diamond and above play entirely, is pretty amazing. And Andres and I are probably going to use this as a key point in reasoning because you always need support on your team, right? You always need one or two supports running. And even though Pharah doesn't show up in any of these lists, Mercy has the capability of boosting Genji's really, really efficiently as well.
Farrah's in
With
there.
that.
She's in silver, bronze, and gold. Just really, really
Okay,
low on the
she's in the
list.
low section, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just really interesting because like where Pharah is and Genji is, you're able to help them get to their ultimates quicker by utilizing the damage boosting. And that's something that Andres and I wanted to probably talk a little bit about when we get into the next section here of just playing discussion points of playing heroes and choosing heroes. Because like if Andres is playing Mercy and he's on my team and we're just duo queuing, for example, and he locks in Pharah. He's like, "This is a great Pharah map. This is why I'm going to choose Pharah. I love playing Pharah. I'm really good at her, etc., etc." And I say, "Well, I really want to play Ana here because that's what I play and I play the most of. That's my hero main. But with regards to our team comp and not really knowing what other people are going to play, if I pick Mercy and we get any other support that can kind of help maintain our hero health or team health, and that's fine because I'm just basically sticking and babysitting him the whole game and getting him ults just almost every other fight without
Yeah.
being a mainstay."
Yeah, it's true. Talking about main healers, Mora, a mainstay between bronze and diamond, staying at number 3 overall, only swapping with Mercy with silver and gold, but nowhere to be found at Master and Grandmaster. A hero that is particularly favored in diamond and below, but not favored in Master and above. It might have to also have to do with the hero choices that some of these people are making, the
Mm.
compositions. I think that in Master and Grandmaster, the utility of Moira drops off sharply, and a lot of people know how to deal with her. But in Diamond and below, Moira seems to be a little bit more powerful and useful. I think that it's a hero that is harder to counter when you're in below ranks, and you can really abuse her lock-on beam. You know what I mean? Especially in the lower
It
ranks, I
shores up
feel.
a lot of weaknesses. It
Mm-hmm.
really does. So if we're looking at these with regards to win rates, that's probably what you're wondering next, right? You're wondering, okay, so if people are maining, what are they maining? And then what do their win rates look like? So it looks like that hero main breakdown for players that are, let me just read what he has here. This chart here is a popularity of hero mains, and at least if they have a 9% popularity out of a max of 100 in the main of one tier. So if there are a total of 6 heroes that meet this criteria in season 12, Ryan, Ana, Diva, Moira, Mercy, Lucio. So of these 6 heroes, 4 of them are supports and 2 are tanks. And the support play be basically really diverse. It turns out that support players aren't flexing between heroes at all and are just generally picking one to play consistently with regards to adjusting to a different support after they get picked out of their main or their one trick. From the chart, notice the dominance that Reinhardt and Ana have, particularly at the highest level of tiers, and these two heroes make up 40% of all of the hero mains in Grandmaster. Ana is over 25% of the hero mains in Grandmaster tier and is truly a meta pick. So that's really interesting to see that Ana and Reinhardt are like these giant percentile numbers of the total hero main breakdown.
Anna
So
and Ryan,
basically,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Andres.
I was gonna say Anna and Reinhardt. It makes sense, right? Because they're taking up two of the most important, like, pillar building roles of your team: the main healer and the main tank. Sorry, I'm trying to talk over here while my cat is attacking
His
my
cat
hand.
is legit attacking you.
He really wants to step in front of the computer, and I'm trying not to let him. But now he's wrestling
Uh-huh.
my hand. Oh, there he goes.
There he goes.
Okay, he did it. Couldn't stop him. All right,
Okay,
well.
well, let's transition and just kind of conclude the article here that if you're looking for win rates with Reinhardt, Ana, Diva, Moira, Mercy, and Lucio, the win rates at bronze and above for Reinhardt are at worst 53% win rate. So if you're going to be maining a hero and spending your time, Reinhardt's your boy, okay? And if you're playing Ana at, it looks like platinum and above, or sorry, at silver and above is a 51%. So even Ana mains are getting a lot of value out of their picks at winning more games than they're losing. And divas are insane at their win rates, being in gold and above they're at 55% win and above. But Moira has this steep hockey stick curve of win rates going up drastically every skill tier above bronze. You're going up almost 5 to 10%, or sorry, not 5 to 10%, like 2 to 3% every rank. Your win rate's increasing as
Moira
you
is really
go up.
interesting to me because her hero maining drops off significantly when you get to Grandmaster and Master. Yet at Grandmaster, Moira's win rates are above almost every other hero main over
Right.
here, which almost like tells you that even though Moira is not getting picked as a main healer in the situations that she is getting picked, she's
really
getting a
good.
a lot of value out of it. It's very impactful. She's getting a lot of wins in regards to that. Same with Anna. Her win rate is abysmal on the lower ranks and
Yeah.
starts slowly increasing as you go up. Meaning that probably means to me that Anna is a mechanically hard hero to play. If you're not taking full advantage of
Yeah.
her mechanics, your win rate with her is not gonna be good.
Right. And keep in mind that these win rates are players that are playing 50% or more of their games on this hero. Not just people playing Ana or people playing Reinhardt. Just don't rack up these win rates. This is people who are spending the majority of their time in there.
Mercy, out of all of them, seems to be the most balanced across all ranks.
Right at that 50 percentile.
Yeah, 50% at most, like 52, 53% at Grandmaster. So 50% at Bronze and 52, 53 at Grandmaster, and like in between every other rank there. So very steady win rates across all tiers. While most other heroes do tend to have a spike, they tend to go up in win rate as you go up in rank.
I think that speaks more to the fact that when you're mastering the hero, you're getting a lot more value when you're doing it properly. Whereas Mercy has got like I hate to say it, but she's got like this one thing that she does, and if you're doing that, it doesn't take you this big learning effort to get there. You're getting a lot of value pretty much at all ranks, and that's why you're balanced in the
It's
middle.
very true. Even like a low rank Mercy that doesn't have a lot of experience in Mercy can do the job of Mercy quite effectively. While maybe a low rank Anna that is just learning Anna will not have the same ease of access to her healing, right? Like if you're not
Right.
hitting your shots, you're not healing anyone. With Mercy,
Yeah.
hey, can you hold the beam up to somebody? You're gonna be provided some healing.
Right. 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 So let's use that and go into what we think about when we get into hero selection. So Andres, when you're sitting in hero select, you probably would qualify as one of the players that doesn't main a hero. Would that be right?
I think so. I haven't looked exactly at my rates, but like just from looking at this season alone, I don't think I have more than like 35% game time on one hero. I think that I
Okay.
switch a lot. I tend to stay within the DPS realm. I'm not like switching widely between DPS, tanks, healers. Sometimes I'll switch to like an off tank depending on my team needs or an off healer. But for the most part, I'm staying within DPSs. But I do swap DPS a lot depending on what I need. So I don't know if I would be considered a mainer.
Yeah, but you definitely main a category. Would that be
I
fair?
would
You don't
say,
really
yeah,
play a
yeah.
lot of like tanks or a lot of healers in
Not a
particular.
lot
You
of tanks
typically
and
stick
healers.
to
Yeah,
the DPS category.
you don't see me that a lot. But yeah, I'll play a lot of DPS depending on what situation I need. I would say my
Yeah,
most
so
played are like Widow, McCree, Genji,
mhm.
Tracer, fourth.
Okay. Okay. So last season it was really weird, but it looks like Mercy was actually one of my most played heroes, which is really odd considering what was the last meta. But I believe in season 11, Mercy was kind of on the downturn right before she got changed, so I ended up playing her a bunch right before the changes. But if you're looking at my main category, I don't qualify as a hero main either. I played Mercy, Brigitte, Lucio, Zenyatta, Ana, and Junkrat as my and Hanzo as my most played top 7 or 8. And they're pretty even across the board. And even if I'm looking at right now, pulling up on this season, I still don't qualify as a hero main because I've been playing Ana and Brigitte and Zenyatta and Lucio pretty much evenly.
That's true.
with
We
the
do play with a lot of people that are mains though. Like Bob, for
We do.
example, he's become a Ryan main at this point. He's definitely playing Ryan over 50% of the time. Well, like he switches to maybe Winston or Orisa, but his usage is mainly Ryan. Or we got Melissa, for example, who's playing mostly Mercy, swapping to other
Ana.
healers. I would say she's almost like a Mercy one trick that has been trying to learn Anna lately. You know, since the change of the meta, but. I would even categorize her as a one trick. Same with our friend Jay Lee, for example. He's an Anna player, almost exclusively plays Anna.
And then
Another one
when
trick
I
over
jump in
there.
the mix and we have Mel with us, Jaylee just plays Sombra and is like dumpstering people. I'm just like, oh my word, this is what a one trick is, people. They just play something else and just go to town. So it's really really fun to play with people like that. Because sometimes they'll just whip out this Widowmaker and just make me laugh. But like just killing fools. But Andres, what do you do when you sit in the screen? Do you wait for people to pick, or do you lock in something that you really want to play?
I think that in my particular style, I usually wait just to see a little bit. I'm usually playing with friends, so I usually know that I'm gonna end up in DPS just because of the teams that I'm playing in. So I usually just wait and see. I usually have an idea of what my other teammates are going to play. But depending on the map, depending on the layout, what I think the other team might bring is how I base my decision. If the map has a lot of long range places where I can just like hide and do a lot of like sneaky shots, I'll definitely prefer a Widow. Even if my team is going with a team like a composition that is good at fighting at the point, if it's one of those maps that gives me a lot of leeway, I like just
Mm-hmm.
playing the Widow. If it's a map where I don't think I'm gonna be able to take a lot of advantage of sight lines or there's no long ranges, but there's maybe a lot of high ground, I love Genji because all the mobility lets you just traverse the map, use all of that. If the map is gonna not have a lot of high ground, it's gonna be like a very kind of close quarters fight, like well in Ilios, for example, kind of a map that doesn't have a lot of high ground and everything happens very
Sure.
centrally, very skirmishy. I love McCree for that sort of situation. So when I start the map, I tend to just think about what I'm gonna have an easy time. Like, what's the easiest time I'm gonna have doing damage, and with what hero is that going to be? And then I
Mm.
try to look at my team as well, because for example in Ilios, like I love McCree, but if I don't have a Reinhardt or an Orisa or a team that I can usually hang around and have shields to kind of like protect myself, is not as effective. If my team is going like a Winston Diva and like a Lucio, like players I can't really hide behind, then the McCree starts looking a lot less appealing to me. And even though I would love to take it in that map, I might think, well, what if I take a Pharah where I can just like jump and fly with them and not have to be in the middle of the fight and kind of like look out after myself? Or what if I just go Genji in this example? Even though it's not my preferred,
Yeah.
well, Ilios pick, it blends better with my team composition. And if I go McCree, I'm just risking just getting dived or shot, etc.
Yeah, let's talk through a little bit of that because I know that for me there's something that we have as like the typical two things that people sit down in the end game screen after they see defeat. They're like, "Okay, look. We lost because we have a crap team comp or we lost because this one player didn't want to jive with that team comp." And or we just chose really bad stuff based off of like a map, for example. So we didn't counter the enemy team based off of a hero pick or a team composition pick, or we didn't play what we played really well. Like those are the type of excuses that we normally hear. But like what Andres is describing here is more of I'm looking at the what I can do on this map. Like what favors this map. How can I maneuver and utilize the sight lines or where I can move or how do I want to defend or how do I want to attack, and then choosing a hero based off of that, and then saying, okay, this is the pool that I'm going to choose from, and then looking at what your team is choosing and saying, okay, my team is choosing to run a Reinhardt on a map that I really want to play McCree on. And so I can do that now. And it's not so much that you're asking somebody on your team to choose that, because you have to adjust to what they want to play. And it's not something that relatively into your control unless you're in a 6-stack environment where somebody's really comfortable with doing
Right.
multiple things, right? So when you play with Bob, for example, Bob will play Reinhardt and Jay Lee will play Ana. So you're like, well, McCree fits really well, Genji fits really well, and my Pharah can play if I have another player that can, stick with me. And you don't have to necessarily ask of your team to do things. You basically need to, in the way that Andres plays as a non-main, for example, as a multi-main or a kind of a skill tier, or not a skill tier, a skill category. Like I'm gonna main DPS and flex in there. He's choosing to adjust. So you have players like that on your team sometimes. Other times you'll have players that are like, Bob and Jay Lee, who are like, I'm gonna play this hero. So you need to basically, like, if you can, let those people shoot what they want and pick them, and then kind of adjust around them if that's the style you want to play. But if you're not going to play the flex style, whether it be in a category or just a multitude of heroes, then you need to. I would recommend, if you're going to flex. Don't pick first, unless
It's
you really
true.
don't trust somebody.
Yeah,
Right?
it's true. And like, to be fair, that's how I play the most of the time. But there are certain times where I'll play, like, for example, Jay Lee is a good example to bring up. Jay Lee is one of the best Zenas that we know. He plays great. We play with him all the time. And he's so good at Ana that it's in the best interest of our team to kind of like keep him on the Ana. Doesn't matter the map.
Right.
It almost doesn't matter what our team composition is at sometimes. Like, he's just so good at that hero that having him there is incredibly valuable as a team. You know that he's gonna have those heals. He's gonna have some insane nades on the enemy team and you. He's gonna have some insane sleep darts on Genjis that are trying to dive him or anything else. So just overall a solid player that you want in that. If you put Jay Lee on something else, he might not bring that level that he's bringing on Ana. He's still a good player on other heroes, but that's where he really, really shines. In fact, he shines so much that sometimes when I'm playing with him, I can get away with just running Genji straight up. It doesn't matter if the enemy team goes Brigitte, goes Winston, and they're
They
trying
hard
to
counter
like,
you.
yeah, they might be trying to hard counter me, but like, he is so valuable that if I can just kind of adapt my playstyle a little bit, play a little bit more defensive, just farm my ultimate as fast as I can without overcommitting, and then with just Nano Blade, I know that the second I dash up in the air, he's already nano me at that point, and then I can just go to town and melt through that Brigitte that's making my life hard. So it's an example of like, hey, he's such an exceptional player in this that we can force certain heroes, even if we're getting countered at sometimes. We might have to change our playstyle a little bit, but we can kind of like break through that wall.
And this is another interesting mentality, whether you have people like this in your group play that or just friends that you play with. If you have somebody that plays and mains something or even one trick something really, really well, or just better than you, it's in your best interest to play with them a lot and kind of learn their style, and then do what Jay Lee and I even tried at least a couple times a season, where you're just like, hey, can you play the other support and then I'll play this one, and you can kind of just work together with me and see what you see, send each other videos. Like Jay Lee and I have been working together a little bit on improving in particular my Ana style and playing with an Ana, and like when I'm playing with him, and just kind of like knowing what I should be expecting of my other supports by playing it. And then when he's not around, just like asking the team, hey, can I fill that role, because I need to practice and make sure that I can get there. And then I play with the same people that he plays with, so that when they're missing him, they are like, hey, I didn't get this when I normally do, and I can kind of fill in the gaps, mentally, like what happened in these fights were actually my fault. And I have a little bit more of like a direct line of feedback when I have a higher level player, both in skill and just maining, hours experience. I can kind of try to hit the same bar, and it's really hard to do if you don't have like a good network of friends that play. But that's what our Discord's for. If you can, try to get some higher level plays, send some VODs, just go play with each other. There's a lot of players on our Discord that have a lot of extra accounts to just go futz around with you in ranked and just play.
Yeah, and like to be honest, you don't necessarily have to have a a group of friends to apply all these things. Just by playing in the ladder, you might be able to notice these things. Like if you click on a profile, this guy has 300 hours of Reinhardt this season. Like you know what you're getting into, right? You know he's probably very solid at Ryan. You know that you might want to play around with him, or even more so if you play constantly every day, you might run into the same players and you might start getting a sense of like, oh, this guy is just a really good Sombra, or like, oh, this guy is an amazing Junkrat, for example. And you start getting a sense for those things, so you can make your compositions based on that, or just in general picks that you're seeing pop up on your regular matches. The point is being flexible and knowing when to adapt, playing to your strengths, knowing that you can get value out of your heroes based on your team composition on the map. Another another thing I wanted to touch is we talked about maybe how I pick the PSs and so on, but sometimes when I'm looking at the map and I'm looking at our team composition, I just don't seem to see any really DPS that is really good for the moment. For example, sometimes the enemy team is running like a really tight, hard comp. The map is not necessarily a good fair map. Maybe your healers is like Zenyatta and Anna, which can't really keep an eye on a Pharah very well, or maybe like a Zenyatta or Anna Brigitte, for example. So just like going fair at the moment might not be good. Every other DPS just seems a little squishy. We're getting bombarded. Or team is getting like hard choked or something. In those situations, I might just choose to go entirely a different thing, like a Roadhog or a Zarya. Somebody that has a lot of HP, a lot more health pool, has tools to keep themselves alive, more than some DPSs. And like you can still use some of these heroes very offensively, right? I'm not going Zarya as a straight tank, but I'm going like a DPS Zarya almost. I'm gonna use my bubbles to help my team get through the choke. My huge health pool is not gonna let me die very easily like I would with a McCree or a Pharah. And then I'd be able to like actually provide some value to my team. You just have to think, how can you provide value, right? How can you put pressure on the enemy team? What's the easiest way to do it? Alleviate the pressure on your team. What hero is going to bring you that at that particular time based on your skill set and all these variables, your team comp, your map, um, everything else, what other people are good at playing.
You can even look at just like what is it in particular that you've noticed that your team is doing that's just like we really need some help here. Like we're
Hmm.
really not surviving very quickly, or this one player is getting picked off at the beginning of every fight. And it may be their fault, but it's not in your best interest to really call them on the carpet for that all the time. Maybe you're just like, I don't think this is working for us, so I'm going to adjust accordingly. Maybe you don't need to be running 2 DPS and 2 tanks and 2 supports. Maybe you need that third tank to be a Zarya, or your Roadhog to sit on your support player so he doesn't get picked off and you just hook somebody that's trying to kill them, or you're trying to bubble your supports. There's all kinds of ways to do that. And then there's also, if the teams are just super tanky and you're not really like able to deal with them with a Genji and a Tracer, you're like, okay, we need to adjust here. We need to hit like, maybe we need to run goats. Maybe we just need to run everything all together and the team's all behind doing that. Then maybe you can make a compositional like adjustment. You can suggest that to the team. But if the team's not interested, people aren't communicating, people are frustrated, then it's time to kind of count your losses and figure out what you can do to adjust individually instead of as a compositional issue.
Yeah, and a change can have a lot of different impact, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be like I'm changing to this to counter this specific hero. Like sometimes I've done changes of heroes to help some other aspect of my team. For example, I might be noticing that my Anna is paying a lot of attention to me. Maybe I did a good play early on in the game, and my Anna is like, this guy did good. I'm gonna like bank my points on this guy, and she's keeping me alive. I'm doing good, but maybe the way that they're playing is not allowing me to get picks very easily. And because she's paying
Mm.
so much attention to me, some other teammate is not getting paid attention. Maybe that's her main tank. Maybe that's the other DPS. Maybe it's the other healer. Or Anna might be so tunnel vision and like healing me that the rest of her team might be suffering. And I could maybe alleviate that situation by going a hero that she doesn't have to babysit as much. Like going Roadhog, for example, a hero that his still has a lot of pick potential, almost like a DPS, right? But I can now heal myself. I have a huge health pool. Now my Anna doesn't have to be super concerned about healing me,
You're just
and now she
shoring up a
can.
few of the weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. And being able to recognize these things that are not necessarily like, oh, we're countering the enemy comp. Oh, they went Pharah, I'm gonna go Hiscan. Oh, they went Genji, I'm gonna go Brigitte. They went Winston, I'm gonna go Reaper. Like, you don't necessarily have to always be countering the enemy team, but what weaknesses does your team have right now that the other team is exploiting? Can you fix them by swapping picks or even by just changing your playstyle? Does going a different route work? Before switching
Hmm.
comps, you might be able to, I don't know, make a better play
Yeah.
just by analyzing the situation.
Now, before we go into kind of just changing your playstyle, because that's like a whole nother can of worms we're going to get into next. But I wanted to kind of approach this from support because that's where I sit. A lot
Oh
of
yeah,
times when we're adjusting on support, I know Jay Lee and I talk about this. Mel and I talk about this a lot actually when we're playing together in particular because Mel has been trying to branch out to more than the Mercy Ana, and I've been trying to branch out into outside of the Mercy Brigitte, or sorry, into out of the Brigitte and Ana into more of a Lucio pick and a Zenyatta pick recently. And what we've been noticing is it's like, well, our team is really like really close to confirming some big kills, and then they kind of just get out of there, and we can't finish them off. That's when I pick Zenyatta. It's like, okay, I can not only add more damage to our team, I can keep a couple of the key targets alive to feel like they're a little bit more durable in the brawl, and then I can give those targets more damage. And it just kind of like shores up that weakness. It's like, yes, they're going to be confirmed now because they don't have the luxury of, of having to worry about their full damage because now they're hitting them harder, and it's not just that one person, but it's a whole team hitting them harder. And then the other side is true if your team is just like, we have an opportunity, we get that pick. Maybe you're running a Widowmaker, for example, and your team gets a pick, and they're like, they're 5v6, and we're still brawling it out. We're not really winning, we're not really losing. We're just kind of stagnating. In those situations, it's like, okay, it's Lucio time because I need to get us to move and take advantage of those moments quicker. We need to get in and get out, or we need to move and take advantage of those situations by having a speed boost, or we need to just like bully them and move them around. Maybe you just need some spacing techniques. Lucio's the best for that. And then Brigitte would be more of like your team's not really running a whole lot of barrier damage on a Reinhardt and or against one, or you're just trying to like make your whole team a little bit more durable for longer fights. That's usually when I'm choosing Lucio. Usually when I'm choosing Brigitte because they have the capability of having burst heal and maintaining and durability with their armor and all of those things.
yeah. Plus being a threat to Genjis and flankers in general.
Yeah, and the counter pick is also really strong with her.
One thing I want to say about healers is that the healers is similar to the DPS, but instead of trying to find a hero that can deal the most amount of damage for a situation and that can bring a lot of impact, with healers you're trying to find a hero that can unleash the most amount of heals and support that you can while in the middle of the fight. And Anna is a good example of this because Anna has been this interesting transition where a lot of the people who are playing Mercy are now switching to Anna. But Anna is also one of those heroes that takes some learning, and if your positioning is not spot on and your mechanics are not spot on, you're not gonna be outputting the same heals as a Mercy, for example. And like furthermore is one of those heroes that is very susceptible to getting harassed. You know, if your team is fighting behind barriers, if you're getting dove by flankers that are demanding your attention, you're not like a hero like Mercy that can be holding your beam on your tank, and the second a flanker comes, you just push yourself away while still healing your target. You're moving and repositioning, no problem. Anna doesn't have that luxury, and I've noticed that a lot of people who are like learning Anna or getting better at Anna um, can struggle a little bit outputting a lot of heals, right? Because their position might be a little poor, or any other X or Y reason. But I would
Mm-hmm.
say in some of these cases, it's completely valid to bring out a Mercy or a Moira, for example. If Anna is not providing the heals that you need, if you notice that you couldn't get those 3 shots on your Reinhardt before he died. You couldn't get that little shot in your Genji before he died. And it's like those little situations where maybe you were late by a second, or they got behind the barrier or around the corner. You were not able to get him. And this keeps happening over and over. Consider a hero that might be able to output that massive amount of healing that you need and keep you safe and alive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm on board with that. And Moira is just like the queen of keeping everybody happy, right? Like you just keeping everybody in. They're a big group. You just kind of go whoosh with your mouse, and everybody's like happy because they're getting heals, right? And they're getting it for a little bit of time too, because it has that healing over time byproduct that you get on
Right.
top of that. And then it's also really popular to run because people are like, oh, let's just run goats. Let's just run a bunch of fat tanks and just sit on the point. You know, you just run Moira there. So let's talk about now when do you choose not to switch? This is the one that people are like most angry about, when I just choose not to switch off of something, or when you go, the people are like, our Widowmaker's not getting any value. And you're like, I just killed 3 people and we lost the 3v6, like there's those situations, and people not paying attention to the kill feed is kind of king of them. If you're not playing in, upper platinum or even just low platinum, sometimes people still don't look at the kill feed in my rank. So when you get going up in the ranks and people are actually starting to pay attention to those sort of things, then they can kind of recognize that advice is not really that great. But what do
Yeah.
you think here, Andres?
Oh, I usually have like an internal rule of thumb. Like sometimes you might lose a fight, but that then doesn't necessarily mean that your team composition is wrong or you have to switch to counter something. Sometimes it just the way it goes, right? Like maybe the other team got a couple good critical hits on your Reinhardt, or they got a good charge on one of your teammates. Maybe their Widowmaker just got a shot right away on your healer, and you're at a disadvantage. Not necessarily comp wise, but it's just the way that the fight panned out, right? And
The
usually,
execution.
yeah, the execution basically. And usually, how I gauge it to myself is, was I still able to provide value and pressure in that fight? Like if I'm going McCree, for example, and I was in that fight and I was able to get a ton of bullets on the enemy team. Maybe I killed one of their guys, but we still lost the fight after that. Maybe I'm not considering immediately like, oh, I need to switch. I need to be counter something else over here. It might just be that our approach was a little flawed, right? Did we come out from the
Sure.
wrong side? Did we give a lot of space to the Pharah to just bombard or Reinhardt or backline? Our supports may be a little too exposed to their Widowmaker that she's getting like some easy shots on them. Can we go through a side where she doesn't have an angle, or that at least we can cover with her shield while we go through? Or maybe the Junkrat is spamming this choke point, and instead of like going through the little choke point, maybe we might choose to go through like a larger side, etc. Right? Or maybe our composition has a lot of high ground advantage. Are we even using the high ground, or maybe did we choose to go through a side where they didn't take advantage of that much? Those are kind of like
Even
the
just
kind of
individually,
questions.
I could say that too. Like you can choose positions that are unconventional for your hero,
Yeah.
and get a lot of advantage out of it. I mean, Andres, your your examples of Farah this week have just been on point, right? Like Farah is one of those queens of repositioning in just really weird places because she just has that flight capability. You
Mm-hmm.
can do the same thing with Genjis and Doomfists and Widowmakers, but like when you really limit down the kit that you're playing with, for example, like you're playing Reinhardt, you're playing May. I mean, I guess May's got the wall that she can maneuver stuff, but like even just Tracer, like there are certain things you can only look at side to side, like lateral, horizontal movement that you have to kind of adjust to. And so you can kind of only look at that in 2 ways until you start looking up and taking some high ground, like by using stairs. It's a novel concept, like using stairs, or using low ground even just to maneuver and get around things, or using distractions to your advantage of your tracer main is one of the big things. Even Sombra, I'm going to have my team go in, and then I'm just not going to go with them. I'm going to go sit on the point and just make the other team choose something. Maybe they kill you, but in the process of going to kill you, you trade and you go 5v5, and you basically forced the enemy team to move somewhere that they weren't initially, and they were in a favorable position, and you just forfeited their high ground to go deal with you.
I think a good example is Widowmaker for me.
Okay.
Widowmaker is one of those heroes that to play her at her max potential, I have to be feeling good that day. You know, I have to be in a good mood. My aim has to be good.
And then
And
just go talk with your therapist.
yeah, maybe I'm a little warm up and I'm having a good time with her. So when I'm doing good with her, it's great. But there are certain games, for example, that a widow might be the best choice. Like, for example, we're playing on King's Row or something, and the enemy team
Sure.
has a Widowmaker. And our team composition is fine. We can handle whatever they're bringing. My Widow pick is good, but maybe my aim that day is a little shaky. Maybe I haven't had that much sleep that day, or I'm a little tired, and I can definitely tell, like, oh man, I'm missing some shots, or maybe she's being a little quicker on the trigger than I am, you know? And like at that point, you could say, I'm getting hard countered over here. Should I go just something else? Should I maybe go Genji or something? But the reality is, if I go Genji, now the Widow might be even less contested, right? Now she has no fear that there's an enemy Widow. She's taking some angles that are super bad for my team and just like getting some shots here and there. She no longer has to worry about that threat. Maybe they're running a Brigitte too, so like the Genji actually is not that effective versus the rest of the enemy team, right? So I might be losing the Widow battle, but changing the hero would be even more detrimental at that point, right? Like me playing Widow still has some advantage, even if she's killing me. So in that point, rather than just like outright switch heroes, what I sometimes do is I just try to outsmart her, right? Like I can't outshoot this Widow, but what if I just take a different approach? One of the things that I like doing against these Widows is I try to be extra sneaky. Like I know a few grapple jumps and stuff that allow me to get around the map without her seeing me. And if you can catch her like while she's looking at like the main choke and she's looking for you, like where's she coming from? Instead, you just come from behind, you take your time, and once she just stands still for a split second, bam! You just shoot her right then and there. She never saw it coming, and you were able to win that matchup without necessarily having to switch your hero. You just switch your approach. You know what I mean?
There's also the other side, which is, let's say, Andres, you are not like you didn't put in enough hours on your Widowmaker to qualify yourself as a main, for example, even just across any season. Like you don't have enough hours, you don't feel confident in that pick, but you're like, I'm going to buckle down. I really want to practice this hero, and this is a hero I want to get good at. So you get in those situations where you are tired and you're doing things. This is kind of like the whole mentality of what a lot of coaches will do, where it's like, okay, we're going to go run for 35 minutes or we're going to run for an hour and then we're going to do practice. Because
Mm-hmm.
now you're fatigued and now you're going to learn how to play fatigued. You need to play in that condition. And you're going to do, 50 free throw shots, or you're not allowed to leave practice until you've made 20, something like that. Or you're not allowed to, leave practice until we've run at the beginning and the end of practice. This is the conditioning type of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even just simply, there's a time when I was playing on an alt account where I was like in silver and I'm just goofing around. I'm just like, I'm gonna play Widow, whatever. And my team is flaming me. And I'm not the greatest Widow, but I'm playing and I'm a lot better than the players at silver rank with my Widow than I am with like trying to compete with Widows in my rank at platinum. Like I can't compete, but I can definitely do some damage in silver, okay? Um, but like I was doing this so badly that my team was getting frustrated that I would not switch off a Widow. And the enemy team, I was like, listen, guys, they switched to 3 tanks, Diva Winston, and they switched to a Genji just so they could come and attack me. Just go get the point. So it's like sometimes if you're getting hard counter and you're staying on something and they're trying to go deal with you, just making them chase you is sometimes value in and of itself, and not switching, even when
That
you're getting hard countered.
That's very true. That's something you also have to consider. Is your presence on a hero so oppressive that the enemy team is putting like 3 or
All of their
4
resources.
people, yeah, like maybe 3 people with resources just on you? Their heroes have switched to you, and like that sometimes can be good. Like staying on that hero just to make him have to do that might be actually really good, but you might have to adapt your playstyle a little bit, right? Like you're gonna get dived, for example. You're gonna be the number 1 target. So can you bait them, for example? Can you be in a position where they might dive you and your team is like right around the corner? Or can you get them to overcommit way to the back so that your team can just outright win the front line because you have like
Yeah, they
three
can just
people
win
chasing you?
5v3 or 5v2,
That's
something like
happened.
that.
I think that happened to me in a Rialto game with you guys. I don't know if you were in that game or not,
Maybe.
but I was playing Tracer on Rialto, and I was behind their backlines for such a long time that I'm pretty sure the enemy Mercy was yelling at the team like, "You guys have to get back here and get this Tracer" or something
Oh,
because
I remember that game. I was playing Hanzo, I think, because you spawn killed that Mercy and the Zenyatta like 2 or 3 times,
yeah.
and they wouldn't go back to help you
Yeah,
or
and
help
then
them.
eventually, like the whole enemy team just like came back, and I was so far back, I was almost like at the spawn or their
Yeah,
original spawn in Rialto.
yeah.
The enemy team basically came back to chase me so hard that we just won the second
We just capped
point.
the point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by like pushing the cart. It was just like
Hmm.
forcing them to put that much attention to me won the point, but to be fair, I didn't engage them. I just basically kept
Just
baiting them
harassing them.
to like
Yeah.
chasing me back and back and back and back and not paying attention to the point.
Yeah, it's huge. And just keep in mind that like if you're trying to play something and you're trying to play it well, you need a lot of time, right? You need time, and you need different situations in which you can be exposed to and practice in, so that you're not just playing in that environment, playing that in style of exhaustion or just tiredness or getting hard countered or just getting in a situation where you're just really clicking well with your team. You got to get into those situations more than once because you're not always playing them optimally, even in the situations where you feel like you're playing well. Because I was even encountering this when I'm playing super well in certain games, and I send a VOD review off to a friend of mine. It's just like, yeah, you're playing well, but you're getting away with a lot of this because your team's kind of covering you or the enemy team's not really punishing you. Like those situations happen a lot. And even when I'm coaching and stuff and I'm talking through things, I was like, yeah, we won this scrim, but we really didn't play that well. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that those situations happen. Like you just it's kind of like the whole idea of like there's a team in Diamond that's playing against a bunch of silver players. Like the Diamond team can play horrendously bad and still win. Like it just happens. Like they're just more mechanically skilled, or they're just shoring up certain weaknesses. The enemy team's not punishing you for certain things, and you may just be building bad habits to do something that when you finally do rank up and get your win rate kind of just skyrockets you up in rank, or even just drops you down. You're like, wow, I'm getting away with this. This is some stupid stuff. Like I'm peeking this widow and she cannot shoot me for end her life, and I'm just killing her with an Ana or a Zenyatta peak. You know, certain things here that I have no business trying to contest this, but because I'm at this rank or because I've dropped a few ranks, then I can now do stuff that I wasn't able to do before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like this kind of conversation. It's not like a hard rules conversation. I hope
Yeah.
that what you guys take away from this is not like, oh, now we all have to just specialize on one category and switch accordingly. No, that's just what I do, right? That's just how I think about the game and how I try to exploit my strengths and cover my weaknesses, right? For other players, that might be a little bit different. Your approach might be a little bit different. How you get away or how you kill certain heroes might be a little bit different. You might be creative in different ways. The hero pool that you use to get things done might be different. In my case, I use a very specific set of heroes to accomplish a certain set of goals, right? And that's kind of like how I win at Overwatch. I think that it kind of is very personalized in that sense. And honestly, I would like to hear from you guys. If you ever have a conversation just in Discord and you'd like talking about this, just hit me up and tell me like, hey, Andres, you know, this is kind of how I deal with Overwatch problems in that sense. This is my hero pool, like how I think about it, because I think there's a lot to learn from other players in that sense.
Yeah, and if you're spending a lot of your time in Overwatch and you've been playing a lot versus a little of playtime is very subjective subject matter to be discussing with other players. When you start kind of quantifying them and telling them, hey, I played this many hours this last season, or this many hours this season, or I put this many hours on this hero total across all seasons of ranked play versus quick play, this will give people actually an idea of telling you whether or not you're playing enough, and whether or not you're putting enough hours on something to learn it. Because let's say you put like 5 hours on 2 heroes last season and you played like 10 hours of games. That's a lot of games for some people, and it's frankly not a lot for a lot of other people. So you kind of want to get the idea that there is a realm where I'm playing a lot or I'm playing barely at all, which is, you know, weird because like I've seen people that have like gold borders or like high level silver bordered, just lots of hours played, but they're sitting in like gold or silver or platinum or even just diamond. These players that just put a ton of hours in Overwatch and they never progressed past that. Then at that point you're kind of like, okay, you put a lot of hours in this game. What are you doing with those hours? Are you actually learning? Or you're just kind of like mindlessly playing? Are you playing on alts on other accounts? I know a lot of people have started talking about this where they have like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 accounts and they're like, oh, I'm just playing on my alt accounts. It's like, well, your skill tier and your ability is kind of just resting across all of these accounts on the same level. And maybe that's just where you're at. And like you adjusting up and down from there is probably just tailored to you're just really comfortable at this rank, or the system is just really comfortable with, you know, how you're playing at that rank. Maybe you need to change something fundamentally before you can kind of increase your skill and increase your win rates and play better. There's definitely something at play. And whether that be playing with other people that can complement your play style, or you just need to play in 6 stacks, like seemed to be one of the things for me. It's just like, Rob, you just need to not play the game as much. And when you do play, you need to play more thoughtful and you need to play with people that you trust. Because the game's just not that enjoyable for me anymore unless I'm playing with people that I know. And it's hard because I live on the other side of the globe. So I can only play
You gotta
with
get
people I know
a
very
full
few times a
Japanese
week.
team, dude.
Yeah, and then I can't understand a lick of what's going on. I'm just shooting heels into people.
You gotta be like the Koreans in Overwatch League, you know, like Dallas Fuel.
Oh, goodness.
Gotta
If only
go
I could
through the
learn the
struggle.
language a little bit more and match with more Japanese players than Korean players. Because that's what normally happens is I'll go play on Asia solo queue on my other account, and it's like half the people are Korean, some people are Japanese, and there's a couple people from Singapore that actually speak English. So it's like, okay, this is weird.
You know, but I see it as like Goku trading, you know, like you go play in the Korean server and then
Hyperbolic
you come
time
to
server.
you gotta come to NA server and you're like way stronger.
Well, the Asia servers aren't necessarily the best ones. I'm pretty sure they have a dedicated Korean server and a dedicated Chinese server that we don't have access to.
Oh,
that they have,
you
like,
gotta get
special
inside
rules
that
for.
Korean server, dude.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, I'm gonna try to play a little bit more here and there this coming season. I definitely want to put some more hours on heroes and just play whatever I want to play and not worried about two stuff. Andres was trying to coach me behind my Doomfist, and I was like, I can't play this here. I switched to Genji and get 3 kills. And I'm terrible at Genji. But it's
To be
just
fair,
I'm
that was
playing
like a
so
quick
bad
play. I was quick play. I was spectating
Yeah.
you. I'm pretty sure that I got you nervous too. It's like, God damn it,
Andres
Andres
was
just
backseat
looking at
gaming
me.
to Oblivion.
I just did 2 comments. That's it.
No. I'm just giving you a hard time. But yeah, just to kind of conclude here, guys, this kind of a wrap up. Don't stress too much. It's just a rank, and the more you kind of arbitrarily in your mind can just dismiss the rank as not being something that's at play, and just putting in the hours and just playing the character, even if you're dropping stuff. I hear that the higher you get in ranks from Masters players and GM players in particular, they have to play more games to maintain those ranks, and also to combat just decay in general. And if they're not hitting, if they're playing all those games, that means that they're gaining and losing ranks a lot. And so plus or minus 500 ranks at those areas is quite common. Like there's a lot of players that I talk to that are in Masters. They're 3,800 4K caliber players, and I see them dip down to like 3,300 in Diamond. Like it just happens. People lose a lot of ranks sometimes. You just got to claw back. And so if you drop from platinum down to silver, sometimes it just happens. It really does. Just keep playing. Just keep playing. You know that if you're a diamond player and you drop into gold, you'll get back there. It'll just take some time. And the system knows that that's like an outlier. Every time you drop something out of there and you're playing really well, it's just a matter of time. And it's just a matter of volume just at that point. If you're just dropping out of skill tiers, you'd have no idea that you belong there. And if you feel like you belong higher, it's time to get some extra people to take a look at your footage and talk with some friends and be like, hey, I think I'm just stagnating here. I feel like I'm better than this, but I'm clearly missing something. Just be a little bit, take that one nice little bite of humble pie and just kind of send it out to a couple friends and say, okay, I want to learn. I want to get a little better. I know I had Andres commenting on some of my Ana play. I'm like, who are you talking about, Ana? I play way more Ana than you. And at the end of the day, I'm like, he's probably right.
It's true though. Like even if other players might not play your hero as much, they might still be familiar with how they interact with that hero, right? Like I don't
Right.
play Ana very much, but I have played with a lot of Anas. Some of them very good. So, you kind of get a sense of what like it feels like to play with a certain hero, and you can still give some advice regarding that, even if it's not your main.
Sure. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it. If you have more questions, please talk to us in the podcast questions if you want to submit something more formally there. I had a couple people request some things this week for particular hero guides. And guys, let me tell you, if you want to ask questions like when is something coming out, I can't tell you because we don't even plan to guess that far in advance. And on top of that, if you want to get a guide together and you want to arbitrarily say, hey, I would love to hear you on this and try to get us connected, that would help us out a lot. If you have connections with players that you're like, hey, I would love to hear this player on your show, then great, just send them over. We'll see what we can do. We're working on, just to give you an idea of stuff we're looking for right now, we're looking for a Reaper player and we're looking for a Diva player. Those are the highest priorities on our list. But as you can tell, we got a Brigitte and we got an Ana 2.0. In the pipeline is also looking to get Hammond soon. And of course, we're going to be revisiting Torb after the rework. And we also want to make sure we can revisit Farah a couple weeks out after from her rework so we can get new playstyles in place and stuff like that. So just give you an idea. And also in the coming weeks, we're going to be covering a pre-BlizzCon extravaganza where we're kind of just going to do full tilt into predictions and what we think is going to happen and kind of Overwatch World Cup like we did with that. We're going to do something similar for BlizzCon. And then we're also going to cover probably Halloween next week or in a week and a half.
All the
Halloween
good stuff
coming on the 9th. So it's coming in a couple days. So enjoy your Halloween stuff. They've been
that new
promoting some
Doomfist
super
skin
cool
looks
skins.
awesome.
They released a Pharah skin today who is actually Headless Knight Pharah, but you can't tell it until she has the victory pose. She takes the helmet off and there's no head. So that's super cool.
Nice.
There's the Spider Widow. There's a new
Spider Widow.
Is it a Moira skin, I think, that they released? That's really interesting.
Yeah, I think I saw something with Moira too. So all of them look
Yeah,
really
so there's
cool.
some cool stuff coming. I'm excited. The Doomfish, as they say.
Doomfish, so good.
All right, well, we have an iTunes review here. Andres, do you want to read this? Because I know you haven't seen this yet, so I'm going to have you read it.
This one comes from Rainbow Shellbird from the USA. Says, passionate and informative. Andres and Rob are two amazing hosts who manage to stay informative but fun. Their great personalities really shine through, which helps this podcast feel warm and inviting to people who may new to or watch, as well as those who are just looking for some tips. Their episodes stay on topic because they have a lot of interesting guests. You will find tips and tricks for all the new players. Not only Rob and Andres are passionate about their content, but they're also passionate about their listeners. The gratitude they feel towards their fans is obvious because they have this built-in amazing community for those looking for some new Overwatch playing friends. Keep it up, boys. Thank you so much, Rainbow. It's very nice of you to say. That is exactly what we work for. Every time we do a podcast, every time we're in the Discord, this is what we like doing. We like teaching Overwatch, and we like hanging out with you.
I couldn't write anything different. Like the fact that you're appreciating all the things that we're striving for weekly, daily, even just feels really, really good to hear that that's something that you're enjoying and getting out of the community. So really appreciate you spending the time logging into the client of iTunes just to send this to us. It really means a lot. Speaking of ways that you guys can help us out, Patreon's out there, and it's really been quite a journey for us. Over the course of the last 2 years, just having people like surprising us with how much they're supporting us and then kind of just like trying to figure out how to utilize the platform. We're still in those things. We mentioned that last week. Please let us know how you guys can take advantage of this. And if you want to support us, patreon.com/OmnicLab is the best way to support the show financially to help us get to BlizzCon, help us get to events, help Andres, get to other events in their stateside, and basically me to take the one trip a year over to BlizzCon is about the same cost. So if you want to help us out there, there's some special people we have to thank this week, which are our new diamond sponsor, Solo. In parentheses, he's on PlayStation 4, so hyped to have some PS4 people in the mix for our patrons. I love having you guys to talk to us about some of your opinions on the console. So special thanks to Solo for signing up, as well as our longtime vets on the Diamond sponsorship level: Ben K, Brett Miss, Krista Playa, Durandal, Jan Jinkle, Lissam, Mr. Mars, Roger B, Ricky Tiki, Shazir, Terry F, Timothy W, Top Score Solutions, and Tragic Zach for supporting us at the highest level. You don't have to support us at this level by any stretch of the imagination, but we do have some perks for you there. We're looking for more suggestions on perks. Maybe we can get a perk to get Andres' cat her own personal computer so that she doesn't harass him. I don't know,
He would like
but you guys
that.
can do that.
He would just sit on it all day.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys want to do that, please head over to the patreon.com and do that, or you can leave us an iTunes review on iTunes. That's going to do it for the show. Remember, guys, we're also Twitch affiliate, and we have a special role in our Discord for emotes to use, as well as just a special color for you in Discord. If you want to be a Twitch supporter, you can sub to us on Twitch at twitch.tv/OmnicLab. And you can find everything you want. Merch, I'm wearing actually this on the live show today. I haven't worn one in a while. It smelled like old closet, and in the summers here, cotton is way too hot for me to wear, so it's finally starting to cool down a little bit in the October months. But Andres, where can people find you?
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. Just spell that IPLAAI Games. And you can also find me talking over at Owl Recap, all about Overwatch League and how everything's unfolding for the World Cup. I've also been working on a couple extra projects over here. I know that I've told you guys I started this new data analytics class in school. I've learned a few things over there, and I've been trying to put it into practice. I've been going into Twitch. I'm working in this little project right now, aggregating data from Twitch and seeing what I find. Nothing too fancy, since Twitch is a little limited in what it lets you see. But when you can see everything from a massive scale, you can see some cooler things. So stay on the lookout. I might release some of the stuff over here. I don't have a date or an announcement for this. I've just been working on him. So whenever they're out, they're out. It might just be like a little blog post or something, but I've been working on that. And also with some World of Warcraft auction house stuff. It's just cool. It's just cool because Blizzard gives you so much data that you can play around with. And World of Warcraft is notorious for giving you a lot of data in the game. So I've been trying to play around with that. We'll see what I can come up with and share with you guys.
Yeah, I was working the auction house myself early on in the expansion when you could sell fish for like a bazillion gold. So
it's fun. It's like a game within a game, honestly.
Yeah, now that we have our raid team that I'm trying to build, I've basically been dumping all of my fish to our raid cook. So I have not making any money. So yesterday I went on a spree of going to old dungeons to make some money because I was like, I'm so poor. But anyways, you guys you want to find me, I'm on the Twitch I'm on Twitter and Instagram with the tag NotRob. I will be getting some brand new glasses this week for the first time in about 10 years. So I'm super excited about that. So next time I wear glasses on streaming, or you guys can check on Instagram, I'll probably post it there. If you guys like Hearthstone, I'm editing a show right now that I'm not on, but it is my co-host got 2 guests this week and is rocking the solo hosting, doing some heavy lifting, and I'm really excited to listen to it myself. I'm in the process of editing it right now, so you guys can check that out at Velen's Chosen Podcast. And I also have the conceptcraft.libsyn.com is where I post occasional D&D related things with my wife, or if I DM'd a session, that's still up on there for a game called Honey Heist. And if you want to find the show, guys, omniclab.com. You can find everything there in the archives and the links. We're working on some cool commands with our admin to help it a little bit easier in our Twitch chat and in our Discord community. If you want to find and you're looking for a specific guide, we're going to try to work on some commands there. But thank you guys so much for listening to episode 121. We will see you next week. And don't worry that you're not a lab rat. Be a scientist instead. All right? We'll see you next week. Bye.
I have nothing more to teach you. The rest you must learn.